The big deals have finally happened in Cincinnati. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, long-term contracts. Let's talk about it over here right now. NFL Spotlight starts now. Welcome in. It is the Monday, March 17 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. It is a late one here on Sunday night where we are recording because we had some news happen over the weekend, but we're going to be talking about mostly what happened here on Sunday night. We kind of hinted at it on Friday's episode. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have both agreed to contract extensions in Cincinnati. Let's talk about it over here. Let me bring in my good friend, Ben Allen. Ben, what is going on? It's great to see you. For people who are wondering, by the way, I'm coming back from a wedding. That's why I'm a bit sweaty right now. But yeah, what's going on, Ben? How are you?
Yeah, and I'm wearing a beanie because I just showered. So we're clearly, this is some top-notch, high-quality television here right now, which is why we're on the internet. Anyway, let's talk about the details here. Cincinnati Bengals, they finally decided they're going to pay up. They've got their duo lockdown. Each of them are getting 4 years, $161 million record extension going over to Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, he's also making off like a bandit with $115 million, highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL for Chase, highest paid number 2 wide receiver of all time for Higgins. It was a grind, but the deal's done. Everyone is seemingly happy, I would assume. How did this all get done?
This was a fun one to follow, really dating back to last year when we started the NFL Spotlight Show. We were talking about Jamar Chase and getting a deal done. Will it get done before the Week 1 game before the Patriots? And the Bengals at the time were willing to make him the highest paid receiver in the NFL. It would have been over $35 million per year, but the structure was really, really bad. So what happened, of course, Jamar said, no, I'm not accepting it. I'm going to play this year on the 4th year of my contract. And of course, he goes out, has the Triple Crown, and now his leverage is through the roof. And during that period, let's just give the story to everybody. T. Higgins, who also has been looking for a contract since his 3rd year in the NFL when he finished that, didn't get one after year 3, didn't get one after year 4. He was franchise tagged. And now here, again, franchise tagged for a second time. During the season, he fires his agent, who's one of the best in football, and hires the same agent as Jamar Chase. And here we get to the offseason around week 16, week 17, week 18. If you guys recall, Joe Burrow is putting out the public pressure about getting deals done for T and how important he is for the organization. And last year, when he was tagged for the first time, the Bengals' plan and intention was to have him play on the tag and become a free agent and leave. Joe starts putting all this public pressure out there in the public. Jamar's agent, his name is Rocky Arsenault, he makes it clear to the Bengals that I know you want to get a deal done for Jamar. If you want Jamar to get done, you're also getting T done. So the Bengals were kind of put into a corner. And that's when this year, they put the franchise tag for a 2nd year on T, and essentially they're forced to start working on an extension for him. And the goal for Rocky and his team were to get deals done with both players at the same time. And that is what happened over here on Sunday night. Throughout the last week, the last 7 days, there has been significant progress made where there was a point where they were far apart on both players. They closed the gap. The Myles Garrett deal, which made him the highest paid non-quarterback at $40 million per year, raised the bar a little bit more. This deal comes in at $40.25 million per year in new money, the new highest paid receiver, the new highest paid non-quarterback. And for Higgins, on the open market, if he would have made it, he would have probably gotten $31 million per year. He does settle for a little bit less. It's $28.75 million per year in the contract, 4 years, $115 million. There is incentives in the contract for that money to go up there towards that $31 million per year range. That was basically the agreement that was made between both sides, that we're not going to get up to 31, but we'll put incentives in there to have him have the potential to get to that number instead of playing on a second franchise tag and becoming a free agent next year. So the behind the scenes stories, the leverage of how this was all done, Joe putting the public pressure during the regular season and Super Bowl week when he went on Radio Row and First Take and did all of that. It worked. And now the Bengals have Joe Burrow, $55 million per year, Jamar Chase on $40.25 million per year, and T. Higgins on $28.75 million per year. Three offensive players taking on a lot of money over here. The big question after this, of course, becomes Trey Hendrickson. What happens with him? Will they restart talks with him? Do they have the cash to put into him? That's a different discussion for a different day. But this is a historic night for the Bengals over here, for a team that many thought would never pay both receivers, would allow one of them to leave. Basically, they're able to get deals done with both, and Joe Burrow gets his wish of having these two guys as his pass catchers for the next 4 years, at the very least, 5 years of Jamar Chase. So what a night, what a crazy deal over here for a franchise in Cincinnati that many thought would never do this.
I was going to say $69 is a nice chunk of change for the Bengals to be doling out. Is this really, like, how do you construct a roster around this now? Like, I know we don't need to get fully into what's going on with Trey Hendrickson, but if you've got $55 million going to the quarterback as well, like, what does this leave for the rest of the roster to be able to be constructed to be a winning team when we already saw last year it wasn't enough with what they already had, particularly on the defensive side of things?
I mean, the big question that now comes up over here is, will the Bengals keep their foot in the gas over here, or are they going to go back to their old ways? I think they realized throughout all of this, and that is Mike Brown, the owner, his daughter, Katie Blackburn, who is very involved in negotiations, Duke Tobin, who is essentially their general manager. They realized throughout all this, we have a really special quarterback talent here in Joe Burrow. We cannot afford him getting frustrated and upset and maybe getting to a point where they went through this once upon a time with a different number one overall pick quarterback in Carson Palmer, who decided to not play any games until the Bengals traded him. They realized Joe is special. He took us to the Super Bowl in his second year. He is an incredible player. We're going to pay Jamar. He also wants T done. Let's make this happen, and let's pay them. We could make this happen if we want to make it happen. We're going to see the full structures of these deals, Ben. I'm telling you right now, the Bengals for a long time only guarantee the first year of a contract. I think they changed their ways over here. I mean, Joe Burrow was an exception. I think they changed their ways also with Jamar and T, with the structures of these contracts, which we'll see over here in the coming days. So the question now becomes, do they keep pushing this forward and saying, you know what, we're going to pay more players, we'll be more aggressive here in free agency, we'll restructure contracts, we'll push contracts into the future, we'll do things differently? Or is it, you know what, we got our quarterback to be happy, let's go back to our old ways now, let him be happy over here for these next couple of years, and next time he has a complaint, we'll figure it out. But for now, we got the job done. So that is going to be the next thing to watch. Joe Burrow did mention during Super Bowl week that he wants all three players back. So Trey is still out there. And we mentioned this on Friday's episode. Trey is in kind of no man's land right now because the trade market has not materialized the way he wants it to. It's hard to get the package for the Bengals, the competition for him, a lot of moving parts over here. So the coming days, the coming weeks, the rest of the offseason, they're going to have to address this defense. I mean, we saw them, Sam Hubbard, retiring. They've had a few players they moved on from. There's the Trey Hendrickson situation. Like, the defense now has to be addressed. That was one of the bigger issues they had last year. So do they push forward or do they go back to their old ways is a big question, but you have to give a round of applause and some credit to the Bengals for doing this, because if you would have told me a year ago that they're going to pay Jamar a record-setting deal and T. Higgins a top-of-market deal where $28.75 million, not top of market, but it's top five, top six. It's the highest paid wide receiver two in the NFL, surpasses Jalen Waddle, I would have not believed you. So they did something different here for the first time. And now the question becomes, do they change even more with the intention of getting back to the Super Bowl, beating the Bengals, beating the Bills, beating the Ravens, and getting to the top of the mountain like they did in Joe Burrow's second year in the NFL?
All right, let's spin it forward because that's what we always like to do here. The receiving market, we had the Justin Jefferson deal. We got CeeDee Lamb. We've got all these guys. It feels like to me, a lot of the top wide receivers, they're kind of like paid for, everything's happy. But then you start looking at, all right, well, who's the next guy who's going to try to leapfrog this? We already saw Myles Garrett get his $40 million a year. Micah Parsons now, is he the guy that's going to be next in line to try to jump this number to $40.5 million?
Highest paid non-quarterback is the new thing happening in the NFL. We saw Max Crosby started at $35.5 million per year. Myles Garrett topped out at $40 million per year. Now you have Jamar Chase, $40.25 million per year. There's no receivers, at least this year, that I think are going to top this. I think the guys who are extension eligible that would get extensions will be Terry McLaurin in Washington, Garrett Wilson with the Jets. That's kind of about it. I don't think they're getting more than what Jamar Chase got. But when it comes to highest paid non-quarterback, I think TJ Watt in Pittsburgh is looking at this number. Micah Parsons in Dallas is looking at this number. I think Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit, they don't have to do it this year. He just finished year 3 with that injury. He could wait till next year, but he's watching that number over there. So there are a couple of guys over here, all in that edge market, that are watching this number. They're all going to try to top. Initially, their goal was to pass Myles Garrett. Now the goal is to pass 40.25. And if it means getting 40.5, that gets the job done. These players, especially their agents as well, they love having these titles. The highest paid non-quarterback title right now is the new thing in the NFL. So yes, do I expect it to get surpassed again? I do think it's going to get surpassed. And one of those players will have it. TJ Watt has 1 year left on his deal. Micah Parsons has 1 year left on his deal. Both those guys need new deals, and they're going to try to top that number. So I would expect that to happen over here. And there's one last thing. The amount of money the Bengals lost by not doing this last year, we should probably mention that as well. They could have gotten a deal done last year at $35.5 million per year with a better structure and better cash flow. They did not step up. Because of that, Jamar Chase went out and balled, and of course, his market went even higher of all these new deals. It's a lesson for every team. You have a star player, you pay them when they're eligible. And if you don't, they're going to continue to play well, and they're going to get their deals when the market continues to reset. So the Bengals kind of bit themselves in the foot over here by not doing it last year, and now they paid a little bit extra. But they got the deals done, and that's really what matters here.
Yeah, you stole my next question. That's what I was going to ask about, is what's the learning method here for everyone moving forward? All right, final thing here before we get out of here. It's late at night. I want to ask you, I'm going to give you a little prediction question here. When do we see a player hit $50 million per year that is not a quarterback? How many years down the road do you think that is?
Well, let's see where the market lands this year with those deals I mentioned. That's Micah, Watt, Aiden, all those guys. If they're able to get to 42, 43, 44, I'm sure there will be an agent next year. I have to look at all the players who are becoming eligible. I don't have it in front of me, but it's coming as early as next year, likely in 2 years, I would say, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to think of the guys who are going to become eligible here. It's obviously late at night over here. We'll have that discussion over here in a future episode, but it's coming. The salary cap is only going up. The star players are always going to get paid. And the way the cap is moving up, and we saw it this past year, the last couple of years, it's moved up by what, $50 million the past 2 years? It is skyrocketing. New TV deals, the gambling money, and much more. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago. The new TV deals, which came into effect a couple of years ago, the NFL could opt out of that in 2029. Ben, they're opting out of it. I mean, the money is going to get out of control over here. We're going to have $60-70 million per year players over here in the next 6-7 years in the NFL. I'm not talking about quarterbacks, other positions. So business is booming, and that is obviously great for everybody.
Well, we finally made it. The big contract's out of the way there with Jamar Chase, but we still have a whole lot we're going to be covering and talking about this offseason. If you guys are listening anywhere other than YouTube, thank you very much. Go over to YouTube, hit subscribe. We're trying to build that page up right now. We've got a whole lot going on there. You can get the shorts. We'll get some other stuff. We'll have some fun, more relation stuff that we can do with the fans. Hopefully get Ari to answer some questions from people, this, that, and the other. It's going to be fun growing the page. But unless you have anything else you want to hit, let's save the rest for tomorrow. Let's get some sleep. Yeah. Let the people enjoy this this big deal.
I mean, as you know, Ben, I had a bit of an inkling this thing was happening tonight. So, our intention at the beginning of the day was talk about Cooper Kupp and the Jordan Mason trade and the Sam Darnold contract, which is interesting. I have insights on all of them. We'll talk about it probably tomorrow. No guest tomorrow. For inches going crazy. A lot of action going on. We'll recap a lot of stuff, talk about a few things. We'll do that tomorrow. But the big news today, here tonight, Jamar done, T done. It's obviously huge. More reaction as well on that coming up over here tomorrow on the YouTube page, on your podcast feeds, and of course on X at My Sports Update. We will see all of you here tomorrow morning.